Mm-hmm.
There's one school of thought that says in that situation, we should just keep playing the audio
No,
and
yeah,
it should just
yeah,
continue.
yeah.
And then the other school of thought is, well, if the person hasn't interacted with the iPad, so they put it on the side,
Mm,
then it should shut down. And we ended up going with the latter thought process. But what you're telling us is that maybe we need to think through that, and
yeah, yeah.
hopefully when people buy the app, they'll send us some comments, and we can see
Mm,
whether or not that's a change we want to make.
right. I mean, me personally, I think that when the user put it to sleep or it auto sleep, the narration should completely stop. But the problem is the way it stopped, or more importantly, maybe the way it restart needs to be graceful, right? It needs to remember
Yeah.
where last it should read and read from there, or stay from there, right? As opposed to
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that
We'll definitely take a look at it and see if we
mm,
can't reproduce what you just described and
right, right. I mean, I've
try
been
to.
playing it since you sent me this pre-launch version. Actually, this is the same version that is going to be the first version that you've sent Apple, right? So if they approve this, this is the one that is going to be up, right?
Right.
Yeah. Um, the another thing with this is more maybe a personal taste, but I think I still consider as a bug. Like when you read when the narration read through each page, at the bottom of the page, you guys may have thought about this. So let me ask you: when at the bottom of the page, the narrator will read through the whole block of text before it flips to the next page, right? So
Right.
do you know what I'm talking about? Like when it reads two lines and then there are six more lines on the next page, it will
It's
say on
it,
this
it
page.
so what it does is it changes on the paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so uh, this is this is great feedback,
Mm-hmm.
Kempton. This is another thing that we actually have tested. So what we wanted to do with Treasure Island is
Mm-hmm.
not highlight every word,
Right.
because when you're reading a big book like Treasure Island, and frankly, I think if you're more than somebody who's just learning phonics,
Yeah. Right.
highlighting every word is actually distracting
It's very
um,
distracting.
from
Yeah.
your experience
I'm glad
of
you
reading
guys
the
go
book.
with the whole block of text.
Right. So what we do is we take and we highlight it based on the paragraph.
Right.
And what we decided to do was only change the page automatically when we switch to the next paragraph. Um, we've gotten some mixed feedback on that, and I think what you're saying is it would be more effective if right as we get to the last word that's shown on the screen, we switch to the next word. And I think that's something that we're starting to hear now from a couple of different people. So we'll probably make that change
Okay.
before too long.
Right. So you guys have thought about it. So in a sense, are you saying you know which word is? See, to me, I mean, I guess let me put on my software developer and
Yeah.
tester hat on, and maybe actually suggest a solution to it. So a workable solution is the way you display the paragraphs on each page. You just need to make the displaying of the paragraph contiguous. So
Yes.
when
Okay. So the reason that doesn't work is because if you look at an iPhone, it won't
mm,
work.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
tried that. But what
Mm,
happens is with Treasure Island in particular, you have a number of paragraphs that are quite long.
yeah, yeah.
And if I show you the device, I know you're
Oh,
only looking
I
at it
get it.
on
I
an
get it.
iPad,
Mm,
but we scale the text for an iPad or an iPhone or an um,
oh,
we'll be launching on Android probably before too long. And as the screen size changes, the amount of text that you put there is different. And
right.
even on an iPad, if you pick the big font, I don't know if
Mm,
you noticed, you can
yeah,
change your font
yeah.
size
Play
to
with
meet
that.
your own
Mm, right.
desires. Then some of those big, if we limit it so that only the full paragraph shows,
Ah,
what you end up with is a lot of real partial paragraphs. And when we tested people in terms of their ability to read the book, because we wanted to make a book that fundamentally was as readable as quickly as you could read it in a book, right, on paper. And if you cut off on the bottom of the page, without a full paragraph, or if you only start a full paragraph on the top, it doesn't work as well even on the
Oh,
iPad,
okay.
but on an iPhone, it becomes almost unusable.
Right, I haven't thought about like the how the text reads on an iPhone.
Right.
Okay, so that's why I guess from if I read between the lines, right? So that's why your narration actually is on a word by word basis. You can actually link and know which word has been read, and you can flip to the next page. Is that how
Right.
it is internally indexed?
Yeah. Well, with so again, just to be clear, with Treasure Island the way it is right now and the way we're launching it,
Mm-hmm.
it will only do that on a paragraph by paragraph basis. But we can set it to word by word basis, or in the
Mm-hmm.
case of Twas the Night Before Christmas, I think we're going to launch with stanza by stanza. So in other words, when it says the phrase is children were sleeping with visions of sugar plums in their head. That's one group, and then the next um, sentence or stanza
Mm-hmm.
will represent the
Right, but
next group that will get highlighted.
right, but the internal indexing is kind of in the
Keep it
system,
at-
even though the user can't access it yet.
right. So even uh, another scenario is that we've been working on a version of Treasure Island, which is called the Christmas Treasury,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been toying with highlighting note for note
Mm-hmm.
in some music. Now we're not actually going to end up doing it because we found it wasn't all that helpful for readers, but we have the ability to do the timing based on a variety of different inputs.
Mm-hmm. Right, but okay, let's go back to my original point. So if
Yes.
I understand you right, with an iPhone and so the same thing, so the issue would be more prevalent uh, of on the big paragraph for on an
Right.
iPhone text when it's reading and then it will read whatever is on the screen, but the rest of the really big paragraph, the narration will still go until it hits the next paragraph.
Right. Unless you can change the page manually by pressing
Mm-hmm.
the next page, and it
Mm-hmm.
won't, the narration won't change in that situation.
Oh, okay. So narration will still keep playing for this, for a paragraph block, but the page would change. So if the user, I guess a current user workaround is, as the user want to follow the text and sees that oh it's reading this last word, then
Right.
he or she can click next page and the narration will flow, right?
Right.
But right now the apps itself is not going to flip the page. It's because it's not aware of.
With within the context of a paragraph, if the
Mm-hmm.
paragraph ends on the next page, it doesn't change the page until you get to the next paragraph.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah. And for an iPhone, it could be like 4 pages of text away, and yeah, because
It
iPhone
could be
speed
if
is
you're
slow.
using a really long on some of the really long paragraphs and you're
Mm-hmm.
using a really big font,
Mm-hmm.
then that would be the case. But usually it's not so much that it's like it'll be 2 pages.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. I see. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, yeah. That to me, okay. Now after the discussion and after realizing what you guys are facing with on the iPhone on a smaller screen device, in that certainly it's not as clean a solution or there isn't a clean way to solve this issue.
Well, we thought that would have been
As
a
I
really
thought.
clean and nice solution for a while too, but then you put it through its paces and it just doesn't always work out that way.
No, yeah, yeah. It's like I think the user kind of been trained with the app that okay, well the flipping is going to go on, but yeah, I guess
Right.
yeah. So I guess again going back on the narration, to me, what was really thrilling to me was the excellent job on the narration and yeah the pictures and when there's there, for example, the I think on one of the last few images, the guy on the mountain of trash and whatnot, the fly through 3D effects was really good, and the scrolling, it's like hey, the perspective was really fun, and again the music and sound effect and plus the narration and the reading. It's not just someone reading the text, right? So Glenn did a really good job. So that was great. Yeah. So, Joe, what's next for you guys? You guys obviously after the launch, you guys are going to do some tune up and whatnot. But
Right.
what is the next book and when do you guys plan to launch them?
Well, so as far as Treasure Island goes, like I said earlier in the discussion, we'll be launching the abridged version of the text, which we had. So we wrote the abridged text, and Glenn narrated the abridged text at the same time he did the full
Mm-hmm.
text. And we'll launch that as an update within the first couple of weeks of launch. And
Mm-hmm.
then from other books' perspective, we'll be coming out with a version of "Twas the Night Before Christmas,"
Mm-hmm.
which is beautifully done with artwork from Greg Hildebrandt, who is well known for a lot of his token art and fine art that he does, and the artwork that he has done for "Twas the Night Before Christmas" is just really fantastic, and gives you quite a different feel than Treasure Island, because in Treasure Island we use those old prints, whereas what Greg works with is much more of a fine art experience, and so that'll be quite a different book that'll come out. And along with that, shortly after we launch "Twas the Night Before Christmas," we intend to launch a Christmas Treasury, a Christmas Treasury will be a little bit upscale from "Twas the Night Before Christmas." It'll actually include the "Twas the Night Before Christmas," but it'll also include the version of the Bible, the story of Christmas from the Bible, the King James version, as well as a number of classic Christmas songs. Again, also illustrated by Greg Hildebrandt.
Mm-hmm. In similar in similar style and like the physics engine and the 3D fly through
Yeah,
effect.
it's got a lot of the same feel,
Same feel.
although there's a little bit of additional things that are going on there. So when the fireplace crackles, there's a fireplace going on in some of those sort of 3D graphic
Mm-hmm.
effects that sort of pop out at you a little bit more, because "Twas the Night Before Christmas" is obviously geared a little bit more towards children, so there's a little bit more visual pizzazz, shall we say,
Mm-hmm.
with some of that.
Right.
And then right after that, we'll follow that with Michael Hagg's "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star,"
Oh.
which is a full version of "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," and was wonderfully illustrated by him a number of years ago. So we've licensed that, and we're going to launch a version of the 24th Psalm, "Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep," which is a very classic thing, and Michael Hagg had done that book as well. So we'll be launching that. And along the line there, we're continuing to work on Wizard of Oz, which was also illustrated by Greg Hildebrandt. And we have 3 or 4 other artists and writers who will be publishing their books, hopefully before too long, too.
Okay, so those are original works.
They're existing. All of the books that we're looking to publish are existing books,
Okay.
but we'll be the first people producing it in an interactive format.
Mm-hmm. I see. Right. So with Treasure Island, you've submitted to Apple, and when
Yep.
is the date that we're going to see it on the App Store?
Well, we got to wait for the folks in Cupertino. I
Mm-hmm.
sure hope that we see it by the beginning of next week. Is our fervent hope, so that it would be launched by November 15th.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, it's up to the folks at Cupertino, and we are hearing that some of the bigger applications take a little bit longer to get through there, and
Oh,
so
okay.
this for us is it's just kind of a waiting game on that front.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the 2 Christmas books, you obviously hope and plan to launch it before Christmas, right?
Yes,
Any date?
absolutely. So our plan is to launch to submit "Twas the Night Before Christmas" to Apple, probably also by the 15th,
Mm-hmm.
and the Christmas Treasury will be followed shortly after that to Apple, and we have a whole production schedule that's been worked out, and for many of the books, Glenn has already done the recordings, and the some of the post processing effects have already been put together. So several books are pretty far down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Right. So okay. Well, great. Thanks a lot, Joe, for talking to me
Thanks for
today.
taking the time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Right.